There has been a lot of quiet movement behind the scenes involving the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the picture is starting to become clearer as the front office continues to scan the market for its next move. The roster is strong, the foundation is championship level, but there are still specific areas where improvement is being evaluated, especially when it comes to versatility and balance in the outfield. What makes this moment interesting is that the Dodgers are not chasing headlines or forcing urgency. Instead, they're methodically weighing fit, timing, and long-term value. For a while, many around the league assumed that the Dodgers would focus their attention on a versatile infielder and outfielder type, someone capable of bouncing around the diamond and filling multiple roles. That assumption made sense given the way this organization values flexibility. One name consistently connected to that idea was Brendan Donovan from the St. Louis Cardinals. He checks many boxes on paper, with experience across several positions and a profile that aligns with the Dodgers' preference for adaptable players. However, as discussions have progressed, it appears that interest may be shifting in a different direction. The current situation in the outfield is a major factor driving this change. There's a real possibility that the Dodgers could be facing additional turnover, which would create an even bigger need for stability and depth on the corners. Because of that, the front office has expanded its focus beyond the initial names that dominated early conversations. Rather than aggressively pushing for Donovan, the Dodgers seem to be monitoring other options that could better address their immediate and future needs. One of those options is Lars Nootbaar, another player from the Cardinals organization who brings a different skill set to the table. Nootbaar is primarily an outfielder, and his profile fits more cleanly into what the Dodgers might be trying to solve right now. He has experience playing all three outfield spots and is known for strong arm strength, particularly in left field, where range and throwing ability can make a noticeable difference at Dodger Stadium. That defensive element alone adds intrigue, especially when paired with the size of the outfield and the importance of cutting down extra bases. Offensively, Nootbaar presents a mixed but interesting picture. His approach at the plate shows discipline, with a walk rate that suggests solid strike zone awareness. He does not chase pitches at an alarming rate, and his bat speed sits comfortably above league average. Those traits are valued highly by the Dodgers, who prioritize on base ability and controlled aggression. At the same time, his overall production has not fully translated into consistent impact, which is where the debate really begins. One of the challenges with evaluating Nootbaar is understanding how much his recent performance has been influenced by health. Injuries have disrupted his rhythm, and that has likely affected both his numbers and his availability. When healthy, he shows flashes of being more than just a role player, but those flashes have not yet become a steady baseline. His contact quality can be solid, yet a high percentage of ground balls has limited the damage he does, even when he squares the ball up well. Looking at his recent seasons, the numbers paint the picture of a player who sits somewhere between average and slightly above average. He provides value through defense, positional flexibility, and plate discipline, but he is not someone who instantly changes the identity of an offense. That reality forces the Dodgers to ask an important question. Does this move raise the ceiling, or does it simply reinforce the floor? For a team already loaded with star power, sometimes reinforcing the floor is exactly what matters, but only if the cost aligns with the return. Another layer to this discussion is team control. Nootbaar would not be a short-term rental. He remains under control for several more seasons, which gives the Dodgers flexibility and security if they decide to make a move. That kind of control is often appealing, especially when paired with a player who can fill multiple roles and adapt as the roster evolves. However, that same control can also increase the asking price, and the Dodgers are known for being disciplined when it comes to surrendering assets. Health remains the biggest question mark. Recent surgery on both heels creates uncertainty about his availability at the start of the upcoming season. For a front office that has dealt with its fair share of injury-related complications, adding another player with recovery concerns is not a decision taken lightly. The Dodgers have repeatedly emphasized the importance of availability, especially early in the season when setting rhythm and depth is crucial. This is where comparisons begin to surface, and not all of them are flattering. Similar moves in the past were made with the hope that a change of environment and improved health would unlock more production. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it does not. The Dodgers are well aware of that risk, and it likely explains why there is caution rather than urgency surrounding this potential acquisition. At the same time, the front office has made it clear that the roster does not require dramatic reconstruction. The core is intact, the championship window is wide open, and any additions are meant to complement rather than overhaul. That makes a player like Nootbaar intriguing, but not essential. He fits the profile of someone who could help in specific situations, provide depth across a long season, and offer insurance if other moves materialize. What ultimately matters is context. If this type of acquisition stands alone, it may feel underwhelming to some. If it becomes part of a larger sequence of moves designed to balance the roster, protect against injuries, and maintain flexibility, it looks far more logical. That is the space the Dodgers are operating in right now, carefully weighing options, reading the market, and deciding when the value truly matches the vision. As the offseason continues to unfold, the interest in Nootbaar signals that the Dodgers are actively exploring solutions for the outfield, even if nothing is imminent. The pieces are shifting, the evaluations are ongoing, and the next decision will likely reflect not just need, but timing, health, and long-term fit within a roster that is already built to contend at the highest level. When you look deeper into how the Dodgers have operated in recent seasons, the interest in a player like Lars Nootbaar starts to make more sense, even if it does not immediately excite everyone. This organization has consistently valued players who can absorb innings, handle different roles, and keep the team stable over the course of a long season. They are not always chasing the biggest bat or the flashiest name. Sometimes they are targeting the piece that allows everything else to function more smoothly, especially when the schedule becomes demanding and injuries inevitably appear. Left field, in particular, remains one of those areas where clarity has not fully settled. The Dodgers have experimented with different solutions, some short-term, some longer-term, and the results have been mixed. That uncertainty is likely why the front office continues to monitor options instead of locking into a single direction too early. Nootbaar fits into that conversation because he offers defensive reliability and enough offensive competence to avoid becoming a liability in the lineup, even if he is not a centerpiece. Another factor that cannot be ignored is familiarity. Nootbaar has experience playing alongside elite talent on big stages, including international competition where pressure and expectations are extremely high. That matters to a team like the Dodgers, where anything less than a deep postseason run is viewed as falling short. Players who have already navigated intense environments often transition more smoothly into that atmosphere, especially in a market that demands consistency and composure. Still, the offensive questions linger. The Dodgers are analytical to their core, and they are undoubtedly examining batted ball data, swing decisions, and underlying metrics to determine whether there is untapped upside. His tendency to hit the ball on the ground limits his power output, and unless that profile changes, there is a ceiling to how impactful he could be in the middle or lower portion of the order. The coaching staff may believe adjustments are possible, but that is never guaranteed. This is where cost becomes the deciding factor. If acquiring Nootbaar requires significant prospect capital or major league-ready talent, the calculus shifts quickly. The Dodgers have shown time and again that they will walk away if the price does not align with their internal valuations. Depth is important, but not at the expense of long-term flexibility. They're not in a position where they need to overpay out of desperation, and that leverage works in their favor. In contrast, if the market cools or if the Cardinals become more motivated to move pieces, the equation changes. A reasonable deal for a controllable outfielder with defensive value suddenly looks far more appealing. In that scenario, Nootbaar becomes a strategic addition rather than a risky gamble. He would not be asked to carry the offense or redefine the lineup. Instead, he would be asked to contribute, stay healthy, and provide consistency when called upon. Health, once again, sits at the center of everything. The heel surgeries raise legitimate concerns, not just about availability, but about mobility and long-term durability. Outfield defense relies heavily on first-step quickness and lateral movement, and any lingering issues in that area could diminish one of his biggest strengths. The Dodgers' medical staff will have a clear read on his recovery timeline, and that information will heavily influence whether talks progress or stall. It is also important to remember that this front office rarely operates in isolation. Interest in one player does not eliminate the pursuit of others. The Dodgers often explore multiple paths simultaneously, waiting to see which opportunity aligns best with their objectives. Nootbaar could be one option among several, serving as leverage or a fallback, depending on how the market unfolds. From a roster construction standpoint, adding a player like him could allow for more creative usage elsewhere. Flexibility opens doors, whether it is giving regulars more rest, managing workloads, or adapting to matchup-based strategies later in the season. That kind of adaptability has been a hallmark of successful Dodgers teams, especially during deep postseason runs where every edge matters. None of this suggests that a deal is imminent or inevitable. It simply highlights the type of thinking that defines the Dodgers' approach. They are not chasing perfection in December. They are building layers, anticipating scenarios, and positioning themselves to respond when opportunities present real value. Nootbaar represents one of those possibilities, not a must-have piece, but a potentially useful one depending on how everything else falls into place. As the offseason continues to move forward, the conversation around the outfield will remain active. Names will change, rumors will shift, and priorities will evolve based on health updates, trade talks, and internal evaluations. For now, the Dodgers appear content to let the landscape develop, while keeping options like Nootbaar firmly within their field of vision, waiting for the moment when patience turns into action. What makes this situation even more intriguing is how little pressure the Dodgers actually feel to rush into a decision. This is a roster that has already proven it can win at the highest level, and that confidence shapes the way every move is approached. When you operate from a position of strength, you can afford to be selective, even picky, and that is exactly what is happening here. The front office is not looking for a quick fix or a headline-grabbing move. They are looking for the right fit at the right moment. The discussion around Lars Nootbaar reflects that mindset perfectly. He is not being evaluated as a savior or a missing star, but as a complementary piece who could stabilize certain areas without disrupting the balance that already exists. For the Dodgers, that balance is sacred. Chemistry, continuity, and trust in the core group are treated as assets just as valuable as raw talent. There's also the reality that internal options are still very much part of the equation. Young players, depth pieces, and positional flexibility within the organization give the Dodgers alternatives that many teams do not have. That internal confidence reduces the urgency to force an external move unless it clearly improves the overall picture. Any trade must outperform what they believe they can already produce from within, and that is a high bar. Another angle worth considering is timing within the season. Not every move needs to happen before opening day. The Dodgers have a long history of adjusting on the fly, reassessing needs as the season unfolds, and striking when clarity improves. Health situations evolve, performance trends become clearer, and markets shift. Waiting can sometimes create better opportunities, especially for teams with depth and patience. For Nootbaar specifically, that could mean his value changes depending on how he looks coming off surgery. If he returns strong and productive, the cost may rise. If questions remain, the risk calculation shifts. The Dodgers are comfortable operating in that gray area, gathering information and keeping communication lines open without committing prematurely. But before we move forward, don't forget to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest news about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the news, so drop a comment below. Whispers are swirling around Los Angeles as Dodgers fans and baseball pundits alike are grappling with shocking news that could shake the very foundation of the team. Shohei Ohtani, the two-way sensation whose name has become synonymous with baseball brilliance, reportedly suffered a severe injury that could jeopardize not only his current campaign, but potentially alter the trajectory of the Dodgers season. While the team has remained tight-lipped, Sources close to the situation suggest the injury is serious enough to raise concerns about Ohtani's availability for the foreseeable future. Speculation is running wild. Could this be the type of setback that forces the Dodgers to rethink their roster strategy? Ohtani, known for his unmatched combination of pitching prowess and offensive firepower, has been a game-changer every time he steps onto the field. Losing him, even temporarily, would be akin to removing the cornerstone of a meticulously crafted championship roster. The Dodgers, who have been chasing their next big title, may now face an uphill battle if the reports hold any truth. Insiders hint that the front office is already scrambling behind closed doors. Trades, call-ups from the minors, and lineup adjustments could all be on the table as the team weighs how to fill the void left by a player of Ohtani's caliber. Fans are nervously watching every update, hoping that the rumors are exaggerated, but the atmosphere around Dodger Stadium has palpably shifted. Social media is ablaze with theories, predictions, and outright panic, as followers debate whether the Dodgers can maintain their momentum without their superstar. The implications extend beyond just the team's on-field performance. Ticket sales, media coverage, and even the broader narrative of the season could pivot depending on Ohtani's condition. Baseball, after all, thrives on stories of resilience and comeback, and now the spotlight is squarely on the Dodgers' response. Will they rally and adapt, or will the absence of their two-way ace mark a turning point in their campaign? Until official confirmation comes, all eyes remain glued to the unfolding saga, as every update is dissected by fans and analysts alike. One thing is certain: the Dodgers season just became far more unpredictable, and the baseball world is watching with bated breath. That's all for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with exclusive news about the Los Angeles Dodgers, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We always appreciate your comments and feedback. See you in the next video.